There are 12 theatrically released Star Wars films, and I'm John Barry, and today we're going to be ranking those 12 films. The 9 Skywalker Saga films, the 2 Anthology films, and the 1 animated film that everyone seems to forget about. And a few things to note, this list is going to be my opinion, and your list may differ. And in fact, I would love to hear how would you rank these 12 films. And I'm not including the holiday special, even though it would get the #1 spot if I did. But let's just jump right on with my #1 pick. And yeah, we're going to be going from favorite to least favorite. I should have probably specified that, but yeah, now we're getting into it. And my #1 pick is Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. So my #1 pick does often differ between is it Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope. But as of right now, it is The Empire Strikes Back. Basically, it's one of the best done Star Wars films. It has action. It has its slow moments. It has excellent music. In fact, I'm just gonna say, in all of these, the music is excellent. Even in my least favorite, the music is still excellent, and I can never fault music on, well, any single Star Wars movie. And of course, the reason why I've decided to put Empire in the first spot above A New Hope is simply because as of right now, it's my favorite. I don't know the words I'm looking for besides I just feel like it belongs in the #1 spot right now. I believe on my previous ranking list, I actually had A New Hope in the #1 spot, so they do fluctuate occasionally, and I think that's a testament just to how good and iconic those two films are. If you haven't figured it out yet, Star Wars: A New Hope is in my #1-2 positions, mainly because right now I feel like Empire Strikes Back needs to be there, but the reason why the first Star Wars film ever released is currently in my #2 spot is because it is right now my second most favorite Star Wars film. It's iconic, it sets everything up, and really, when you're talking about a franchise that has lasted this long, the first 2 installments are going to be some of the best. Otherwise, how did the franchise even get off the ground to begin with? But it is just a fun film. That is probably the best way of describing A New Hope. A simple, fun film that is enjoyable to watch. There's nothing else to say except for time for my third favorite Star Wars film, which of course is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now, before I continue, I do want to say that for all the Disney era Star Wars films, I did actually a while ago put out a listing and ranking of those films, where those films are in the exact same order as they were. I haven't changed that up because I haven't felt the need to. I did solidify one position a bit more that goes back and forth for me. But other than that, go check that video out. You'll give my thoughts a bit more. But just to kind of real briefly state for The Force Awakens, it's for the return to Star Wars on the big screen, it is the right film. It sets things up for upcoming films, while also giving us a blast of nostalgia to remind us what we loved about Star Wars. And of course, I gotta say, I thought it was the best done of the 3, probably because it's opened rather than a middle chapter or ending chapter where people have different expectations of what's going to happen. But in an opening chapter, you have less expectations. But let's go on to my next pick. And so, my 4th favorite Star Wars film happens to be the very first Star Wars film that I ever saw. Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. So, this is my first Star Wars film ever. So it holds a special place in my heart, kind of like The Force Awakens does, being the first one I saw in theaters. But Return of the Jedi just holds a special place in my heart, and I don't think it will ever be knocked out of the top 5 Star Wars films for me because of that. It's ultimately for more of a nostalgic reason, but it just is. Being able to hold a special place in my heart really does help it, because it's not the best film in Star Wars, I gotta be honest. It still is a very good and solid film, but being that first Star Wars film I ever saw, it holds a special place in my heart. And so my 5th favorite Star Wars film at this moment is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I had a tough time deciding exactly what should go first, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. Because both films I kind of have the same thoughts on. They're solid films, but there are parts where I'm like, maybe you guys could have, did a few things here and there to improve on it. So it was very hard to actually decide to put the Last Jedi ahead of The Rise of Skywalker. But ultimately I came to this conclusion simply because I felt like it is more similar to The Empire Strikes Back than The Rise of Skywalker is to Return of the Jedi. If that makes any sense. But what I'm basically saying is that The Last Jedi does its job as the middle installment of the saga the trilogy, better than The Rise of Skywalker does as the conclusion of its trilogy. I still think it does an excellent job, as I'll say when I get to it, but I just felt like The Last Jedi did a better job fulfilling its role. And in 6th place is Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Unlike many people, I thoroughly enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was a good film, it was fun. Essentially, it was everything I would like from a Star Wars film. Now, not everything was solid. I really wish they had included one scene from the novelization of Kylo Ren interrogating Chewbacca. I think that would have added a lot of emotional weight to the film that it was lacking. And I think the film also suffered from not having the ability to give Carrie Fisher, I should really say Princess Leia, her full and proper role that I think everyone was intending for her. So that hurt the film, though I think they did a good job with what they had, and I just had to put it here right after The Last Jedi for the reasons I stated when I was talking about The Last Jedi. It's still a good, solid, fun film with some fun stuff, but ultimately, there are some things it could be improved upon. One, they had, I think, fully in their hands. The other was, unfortunately, circumstances beyond their control. So my 7th favorite Star Wars film right now is Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I can't do a Palpatine laugh if I wanted to, but I can. But, it is, I think, the strongest of the prequel films produced. It is a nice, solid film. Yes, it does have its flaws, but a lot of its flaws were remedied by the Clone Wars. Well, that is not an excuse for said flaws, but I think it is the best and most solid and most well done of the prequel trilogy, without a doubt. And it's an emotional film. You get a bittersweet ending, and really, it is kind of what you expect of a film where the Sith get their revenge after all. It is very much the Empire or Last Jedi of its trilogy. Not so much in tone, but in the place of where the characters end up. There is a reason why Episode 4 is now known as Star Wars: A New Hope. And holding the 8th position is Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So this, I think, is the best of the Anthology films. It's fun. I really do enjoy how it lines up directly to A New Hope. I feel like you take the credits out, splice them together, it would feel like one solid movie in terms of, while yes, the characters do change, what it does is very nice how it flows, it flies, you can say, directly into A New Hope, which I think is great. And of course, gotta mention that Darth Vader hallway scene and the Bachelor skills, which I think are the strongest parts of Rogue One. Most people do agree that the final act happens to be the strongest, and when I think of Rogue One, that is what I think of. And that's why it does get into the number 8th position after all. That final act is what really helps the film. The first couple acts on their own, the first half of the film, you can even say, if it was just that alone, yeah, this would be ranked lower than my least favorite. So that tells you how strong the final act of Rogue One really is. And in the number 9th position is Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. So yeah, it's up there for me, mainly because I just enjoyed it. There's a few awkward moments, can't admit, but it's not nearly as bad as people say. The Padre scene, of course, is nice. Really, what really does help is Duel of the Fates, you can say. The battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn versus Maul. That is just an excellent scene. The battle in Naboo is also enjoyable. The space battle is probably the weakest part of that, but the rest of it is really well done. Jar Jar, maybe he could have been toned down a bit more. But overall, it is a decent, solid film. It's nothing spectacular, but it is still a good enough film. And I just have a bit more nostalgia about it than I do some of these later picks too, which probably does bring it up a little bit. And so we find ourselves in the tense position where I can only describe the film as meh. That being Solo, a Star Wars story. So it's a okay, solid film. I just have a meh feeling about it. Nothing really excites me about the film, but I really don't have any complaints about the film. I debated whether this should go before Phantom Menace, but I decided to put it after because, at least with the Phantom Menace, there were some solid things I could say about it that I did like. But with Solo, with maybe the exception of, Maul's appearance, I am just meh on the film as a whole. It's a okay film, but nothing spectacular about it. So that's why I got pushed below Phantom Menace, only because there's actually more things I can say I like about the Phantom Menace than I can about Solo, even though I do have more complaints about the Phantom Menace. Which I think tells you, maybe Solo's biggest problem. It's meh. That is the only way I can describe it. Meh. And maybe if we focused on Lando instead of Han, maybe then we would have gotten a better story, or even Chewbacca. But that's all up in the air, of course, but that's why it gets in this position, the only film I can actually say meh about. And in the 11th spot is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So yes, The Clone Wars was actually a movie as well as a TV show. It was released in theaters, so that's why I am including on it. I gotta say, this is probably some of the weakest Clone Wars out there, and that's why I'm putting it down here. It is ranked only so low because the Clone Wars ended up doing so much. If I had to put the Siege of Mandalore on here, treated that as its own film, even though it wasn't theatrically released, and I had to rank that, this would still be down here, but that would be probably up even higher than, it would be up higher than The Force Awakens. It would be in my probably second or third spot. That's how good the Siege of Mandalore is. But when you compare it to what started it, well, it just felt disjointed. It's still okay, solid storytelling. And I would say I might even like it more than Solo, but it's ranked low because of what the series that came after it was able to do. That's pretty much it. Because of what it came after it, and in the same vein as it did so much better, it forced this one down so low. Otherwise, it would definitely be ranked higher than the Phantom Menace. So that just tells you something how what I think about it and why I'm giving it this specific ranking. And time for the final place, and the only film I can actually say I dislike. Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. And while there's okay some moments, I enjoy nearly all of Obi-Wan Kenobi's screen time. He was probably one of the best, strongest characters in the film, and his storyline was, I think, very well done. It's because of Anakin and Padme's storyline that this film hurts. It's probably the best way I can describe it. I felt their romance was very awkward. Can't fault the music, that was done well, but Anakin and Padme's romance was awkward. I think it was supposed to be awkward, but I just didn't like it, and that really just drags the film down for me. It's almost awkward for me to watch, and not awkward in a good way, but awkward in a bad way. And really, that romance it just drags the film down. I think almost George Lucas was trying to go for a a rom-com almost feel for it, but it just did not fit. Like, it just wasn't that good. There's better romances in Star Wars is all I got to say. Better done, better developed. Now granted, I think Anakin and Padme's romance was not supposed to be the healthiest. It still just drags the film down with it. And that's unfortunate because Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff is really very well done and good. But the romance just really just drags it down, and I'm basically beating a dead horse with this, so that is the end of the list. So thank you for watching. If you haven't yet done so, please like the video and comment down below. How would you rank these 12 films? We'd love to hear from you. Also, please consider checking out the links in the description. We have my Facebook, my Twitter, also is my Discord server if you would love to join. It's an excellent place to chat. And my Patreon page if you would like to help support this channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so, and consider checking out the video or the playlist on screen now. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.